What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA playoffs, Monday, June 7th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 2-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. So without James Harden in the lineup, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, their usage rate is going to skyrocket. They're going to have a much bigger opportunity to score fantasy points. So I like Kyrie Irving from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing point guards. Kyrie Irving has averaged 45.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He scored 48, 36, and 60 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 44, 37, and 40 minutes. So he's playing monster minutes, and he's projected at 50 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 9,700 FanDuel salary, and he's 500 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game, so I like Kyrie Irving here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, now this is more of a DraftKings play for me, but I think he can hit value on both sites. With James Harden out, that's going to open up some minutes for a guy like Mike James from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Mike James scored 25 fantasy points last game, playing 30 minutes with a 16% usage rate. He's projected at 24 fantasy points here tonight. Now on FanDuel, that's 5 times value because he's 4,800 FanDuel salary, but he's 1,500 less on DraftKings. So I think he makes a really good DraftKings value play. So I like Mike James here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And just real quick, a couple other point guards that I like: Chris Paul, Monte Morris, and Drew Holiday. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Devin Booker from the Phoenix Suns playing the Denver Nuggets. Devin Booker has averaged 37.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 33% usage rate, but he scored 65, 48, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 45, 33, and 39 minutes. He's projected at 44 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 8,700 FanDuel salary, and he's 200 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 220 points scored in this game, so I like Devin Booker here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, now this next pick is a DraftKings play only. I like Bruce Brown from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Bruce Brown has averaged 20.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He scored 24, 31, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 21, 23, and 23 minutes. Now he's projected at 26 fantasy points here tonight. On FanDuel, that's only 4.4 times value because he's 5,900 FanDuel salary. So I'm not playing Bruce Brown on FanDuel, but he's 2,100 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. So I like Bruce Brown on DraftKings here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. Because James Harden is out, I like Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Kevin Durant has averaged 46.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He scored 52, 40, and 62 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 40, 37, and 39 minutes. So he's playing monster minutes, and I expect him to have the highest usage rate on the slate here tonight with James Harden out. And he's projected at 55 fantasy points. That's 5.1 times value. He's 10,700 FanDuel salary, and he's 400 less on DraftKings. So I like Kevin Durant here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, another small forward that I like, and I think this is a DraftKings play for me. You can play him on FanDuel, but I like Michael Porter Jr. from the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns. Michael Porter Jr. has scored 40 and 48 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 33 and 47 minutes. He's projected at 37 fantasy points here tonight. Now on FanDuel, that's only 4.7 times value because he's 7,800 FanDuel salary, but he's 700 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. So I like Michael Porter Jr. on DraftKings here versus the Phoenix Suns. If you're looking for a small forward on FanDuel, I would rather play Chris Middleton for 100 less than Michael Porter Jr. I think he makes a lot more sense on FanDuel. And then if you're looking for a cheap DraftKings play, take a look at Mikal Bridges, who's 1,300 less on DraftKings. So I like him on DraftKings, not playing him on FanDuel. So those are my picks at the small forward position. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Blake Griffin from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of the Nets make sense here tonight with James Harden out. They all are going to have a much greater opportunity to score fantasy points. So Blake Griffin, he scored 42 fantasy points last game when James Harden went out. He played 35 minutes. He's projected at 28 fantasy points here tonight. And even on FanDuel, that's 5.5 times value. He's 5,100 FanDuel salary, and he's 1,000 less on DraftKings. So I like that price on both sites, especially on DraftKings. Might be a lock for me on DraftKings. So I like Blake Griffin here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, another power forward that I like is Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns. Aaron Gordon has scored 32 and 32 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 33 and 38 minutes. He's projected at 30 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.2 times value. He's 5,800 FanDuel salary, and he's 300 less on DraftKings. So I like Aaron Gordon here versus the Phoenix Suns. And another couple of power forwards that I like Jay Crowder and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And also, JaMychal Green looks like an interesting value play. He played, he scored 24, 19, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 23, 19, and 21 minutes. He's projected at 21 fantasy points here tonight, That's 5 times value on FanDuel. He's $4,200 FanDuel salary, and he's $600 less on DraftKings. So I like JaMychal Green as a value play here versus the Phoenix Suns. Okay, moving on to the center position. I'm just going to pay up here at the center position. Well, on FanDuel, definitely just going to pay up. I like Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns. Nikola Jokic has averaged 54.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He scored 53, 78, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 46, and 26 minutes. He's projected at 55.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $10,800 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. So I like Nikola Jokic here versus the Phoenix Suns. Now on DraftKings, if you want to pay down at center, take a look at Brook Lopez, who's now scored 26, 39, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 27, and 26 minutes. He's projected at 28 fantasy points here tonight, but on FanDuel, that's only 4.7 times value because he's $6,000 FanDuel salary, but he's $1,100 less on DraftKings, so that would be well over 5 times value on DraftKings. And we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game, so a high-scoring game. This is definitely the game to stack. So I like Brook Lopez on DraftKings here versus the Brooklyn Nets. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.